Welcome back. My next guest has marshalled the careers through the last 25 years of some of the biggest names in the music industry, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers through Florence and the Machine to Kylie Minogue and Rihanna. I'm delighted to say she is now entering the racehorse industry in a reasonably significant way, with her star Lady Bowthorpe bound for the Group 1 Sun Chariot Stakes at Newmarket in a couple of weeks' time. She is Emma Banks. Emma, thank you very much for joining us on Luck on
Pleasure,
Sunday.
nice to be here.
And I'd say you've had an amazing career in the music industry. How does sort of entering the racing fray compare at the moment?
It's got all the same problems. Actually, racing has slightly fewer problems because of the TV. You can still do it. And with my business, which is live music, you can't, because no one's really watching that on television. You know, so that from that point of view, we're completely shut down still, and hard to see that we're going to get opened up with no social distancing for a long time, whereas at least racing's happening.
It makes, I think, me realise how lucky the racing industry has been to be carrying on in at least some shape or form. And the biggest part of your business has been sort of running the big live tours for these huge acts all over the world. Can you give me some idea of the scale of the loss for that portion of the industry?
Well, it's multi millions. I mean, we're talking just numbers that you can't think about. You know, we've got about 250,000 people that work in live music, live entertainment in the UK. And that's, you know, people think about the bands and maybe the direct crew members, but it's the trucking, it's the buses, it's the caterers, it's the people that do the advertising, it's all of those people as well that are all impacted. So it's huge. And, you know, the Treasury, there's masses of VAT that's not going in. So you look at the whole thing, it's impossible. You know, Andrew Lloyd Webber, a far higher profile horse owner than I, has been obviously very vocal about what's going on in theatre. They have exactly the same problems. Yeah, it's hard, though, isn't it? You know, he will say that his theatres have air filters in them that are as good, if not better, than the airlines. You're allowed to go and sit on a plane and go to LA for 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. That shows how long it is since I got on a plane, because 6 months ago I could have told you to the minute how long it took. And so there are some mixed messages. Ultimately, we only want people to be safe, but people are not going to be safe if they have no way of earning a living. How
did you come about this extraordinary career looking after some of these huge names, putting on these massive tours? Where did it all start?
It started at university. Before I went to university, I would never, ever have thought I would be in the music business. I did a food science degree at Reading, so this all makes sense.
So it's a natural route.
Exactly.
To this.
You clearly understand how I ended up here. And when I was there, I used to do lots of... My loves when I was at school were drama, debating, and ponies, horses, that stuff. When I went to uni, I wasn't over-enamoured with the drama at Reading, so I got involved in the RAGS organisation, you know, the charity fundraising side, and we organised gigs. And I realised organising a gig wasn't that different to organising the Gymkhana I used to organise, and I loved it. And the mix of sort of art and commerce, you know, being able to be behind the scenes and part of a career for somebody, plotting and planning, was then why I sort of thought, when it came to it, much to the despair of my parents, who clearly wanted me to have a proper job, I was like, well, I like this music thing and I like the people I'm meeting. So I wrote God knows how many letters. This is, you know, obviously I'm ancient, so it was before internet and mobile phones. And eventually, you know, one guy said, OK, we'll give you a shot. And I started, and I've done it ever since. And I think hard work pays off, you know, starting earlier, finishing later.
It strikes me that for somebody like you, you've got to tread quite a careful balance between being high profile enough that everybody wants to be with Emma Banks because it'll be good for their career, but low profile enough not to kind of be in the limelight when you've got these big, presumably massive egos to deal with. And it must be you must have to be quite deft in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm not the one that anybody buys a ticket for. No one cares who booked the show. No one cares who promoted the show. They care about Katy Perry or the Red Hot Chili Peppers or Florence and the Machine being on the stage. And it really, the rest of it doesn't matter to the people that pay for their tickets that matter to us. So I think so long as you realise that all of my success is down to other people. You know, I may have been smart and lucky in attaching myself to the right people, but it's not me that does it. It's them that does it. And I help. A little bit like having, you know, a great trainer with a racehorse. You know, the racehorses and you know, the jockey, they're doing the actual work, but you have to position them in the right places. So I suppose I'm a bit like a trainer.
And is that what appeals to you about racing, the plotting and the planning and the working out which horse is going to run where and the management of the career?
Some of it, I think what appealed to me in the first place was just the pony aspect of it. You know, and I still want a black one, you know, it's so ridiculous. But yeah, that's one of the things I find fascinating about it now is, you know, the more I get into it, and I've owned horses now for, I think it's 6 years, so it's not long.
Yeah.
You know, I had pony, stopped, went to university, worked like a lunatic to try and earn enough money potentially to have a horse. And of course then it suckers you in, and every year you're like, oh, well, I need a 2-year-old for next year. And then I started missing it in the winter, so then you need a national hunt horse, and then you realise how long they take, so you need a couple more national hunt horses for 10 years' time. So it's an appalling thing to get involved with. But yeah, you know, understanding a little bit about the breeding and the pattern of the races, and how once you get rated 108, you're sort of screwed if you're not good enough to win group races, because there's not much else you can do. I mean, that I find fascinating. I've been looking at some of the horses that Lady Beauthort's been running against, and they're all rated in the some of them not rated in the hundreds, but they've earned very little money, and that's a frustration. That you've got horses that are rated 75 that have potentially won more money than a horse rated in the hundreds. That's a bit weird, isn't it? That you could be way better as a horse, but you don't succeed. That doesn't really work for humans.
It doesn't, and of course, in your business, it is success breeds success. You know,
Yeah.
the bigger you become, the more money you make. It's
Exactly.
as simple as that. Whereas, you know, racing's reward system is, as you point out, somewhat unusual. Is it unusual enough, though, to put you off?
No.
No.
No, currently nothing can put me off. You know, I'll go without things. This is a tough year. It's a really tough year. And I now think much more about what I'm doing and what I'm spending, because you have an obligation when you own horses. They've got to come first. I mean, ultimately, they need to be fed, they need to be looked after, they need to be taken care of, and there's a cost in that. And it concerns me a little bit when I think about my tidying up, clearing of horses, whatever, that right now, if you're selling a horse because it's not very good, you know, we've seen the yearling sales so far, it's fine, and everyone talks about, oh, you know, the clearance rates were good, but all the numbers are actually down. And the yearlings always cost more because there's the dream. And the horses in training sale, I've always thought those sales always have to come afterwards, because otherwise you'd be so depressed. No one would buy a yearling. But the thought to me of selling a horse so cheaply that you just don't know who's buying it and whether they'll care about it freaks me out a bit. And quite frankly, if you've got to pay £800 to enter the horse in the sale, or
You
whatever,
might not get 800 quid
you
for the
might not
horse.
get that back. And would you have been better, so long as it's a horse that could be retraining it, giving it away to somebody you know will give it a really good home?
So already, in a fairly short space of time as a racehorse owner, you've considered the finance and funding of the sport, the fixtures, the rewards, the aftercare. It's amazing how the sport sucks you in and consumes you if you really care. Are you one of these people who, if you get interested in something, you get really interested in it?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, I can't do it by halves.
And is that sort of informed your whole way of life?
I think so, yeah.
That should be, then, good news for us in the sport, because that's exactly what we need, owners who are going to look after it and sustain it and love it, I suppose. What is it about the day itself that that you like or dislike at the moment? And take COVID aside.
A regular racing day, it's the excitement, isn't it? It's not knowing, you think you've got a chance, but who knows? And the race might be run in the wrong way, something else I keep learning about. And I think then just the experience, I haven't really found many people in racing that I don't like. I think even the biggest shot jockeys and trainers and owners, particularly people actually working with horses, there is something about having to get up early and being surrounded by shit all the time, that makes it quite real. It's not all running around drinking champagne. You're actually dealing with living animals, and I think that makes people real. Mm. And again, I think it's not an easy way of life. There's way more trainers that struggle than don't. But they still keep doing it because they love it. And I think when you work with people that have passion, it's the same as being a musician. Most musicians never make it. Even if you have a record deal, even all of those things, you still probably won't make it. Mm. But they can't do anything else. In their heart, their spirit, their soul, it's all about that.
I was listening to an interview that you gave, and I was fascinated because you said different musicians need different outlets, really, to make themselves good. And as long as it's authentic and real, then the success will follow. And I suppose racing's a similarly non-uniform game, really. Not everyone fits into the same bracket. Not everyone is going to be campaigning horses the same way. Not everyone's necessarily aspiring to the same thing. Everyone's getting slightly different things out of it.
Absolutely. And I think you have to look, as humans can be a little bit more fragile, so can horses. So you've got humans that are literal. I consider myself more a cart horse than a thoroughbred. I can keep on going. I can't run that fast, literally and probably metaphorically, but I can keep working and take on quite a lot in a way that some people can't. But they may have those moments of utter brilliance that maybe I don't have. And I think you see the same with horses. So occasionally, there are horses that run 3 times in a season, and that's right for them. And then there's horses where you go, he's tough, he's a handicapper, he can run every 3 weeks. Occasionally, if you win, you might put him out there within the week so that, depending what you think your handicapper's going to do. That is quite interesting. The handicapper, for me, although, as I'm now realising, you can probably make more money with them sometimes. But they are those good, solid bands that are out there playing Shepherd's Bush Empire and playing to 3,000 people a night all over the world, year in, year out. And then you have other artists that, they'll have a nervous breakdown if they're away from home for 3 weeks.
Is Lady Bowthorpe Katy Perry?
No, I'm trying to think who... Lady Bowthorpe's more Florence, probably,
right.
Actually. Because Lady Bowthorpe's been a bit more sensitive about stuff. Katy Perry, while she is obviously a sensitive human being, is so hard-working. She's so hard-working and doesn't let anything faze her. Lady Bowthorpe's been a bit of a pain in the neck sometimes. When you drive all the way to Yarmouth and put Jamie Spencer on top of her and think this is all going to be brilliant, you go off super hot favourite, and then she rears up at the stalls, Jamie falls off, and she has to do the walk of shame all the way back to the stables. That's not the easiest horse.
But unpredictable artist though she is, she does have those moments of brilliance. She's got her group race win.
God,
She's
yeah,
going
absolutely.
for a Group 1. She could be not worth as much to you as some of those really big names that you deal with, but not far off soon.
Yeah. But she's only worth it if I sell her, isn't she?
And you don't want to, do you?
I don't want to sell her. You work all this time, buying horses, and James Toller's been amazing. And, in 6 years, I have 2 horses with black type. Mrs. Gallagher won 2 listed races. Incredible. That's incredible. And she's now got a beautiful foal by Dark Angel. William's trained both of them. There's others that, we've thought were going to be good that maybe haven't been so good. But I've been incredibly lucky with that. But it costs the same to train Lady Bowthorpe as it does to train the ones that sort of, have a leg dangling around like that.
And old Arigato, he is playing the Shepherd's Bush Empire every week, isn't he?
He is. he is. Oh, I'd say he's probably Brixton Academy now.
You reckon?
I think he's Brixton Academy. But, you know, he's special. I mean, I bought him as a foal. His birthday is my birthday. It's not the reason you're supposed to buy a horse. Oh, look, there he is.
But it's amazing.
With his girlfriend.
It works in so many different
Josephine.
ways. Josie has ridden in pretty much every start, hasn't she?
Yeah, yeah. Martin Lane started on him. It was so depressing for Martin, he gave up being a jockey. I don't think we can blame Arigato for that, but yeah. But Josephine's been there.
What I love is just the sheer affection you have for these horses, and I really, really hope it continues, as I hope your love for this game continues. I feel like we're only scratching the surface. It's been 20 minutes. We could go on all morning. Emma, thank you so much for coming to chat to me. You've played some, or you and your artists have played some wonderful venues around the world. I mean, I don't know whether this...
This is a highlight, though. It really is.
Whether this...
you know what? One day I want to get my colours up here. If that happens...
This can be arranged.
I'll have made it.
This can definitely be arranged.
Oh, there we go. I'll bring them in.
Perhaps sooner than you think.
There you go.
Emma, thank you very much. I mean, this being TV, I have to. If anyone was in any way offended by Emma's just expression of enthusiasm earlier on, I have to do the thing that I have to do. But thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck with Lady Bowthorpe in the Sun Chariot Stakes.